What's up, guys? This is Colby Dissinger, and we're going to look at Module 12, talking about tort liability and what I know about it, and then we're going to go over like 5 cases for you. So what is tort liability? It's there's first one that I want to talk about is intentional torts, and that is like a civil wrong resulting in someone's intentional actions to actually harm someone with intent. So an example of that would be like 2 students in a verbal argument that escalated, and then one student ended up swinging and hitting another student with the goal of actually harming the person. The other one is negligence, and I'm surprised I was able to say that word correctly, but there you go. And that's more of the unintentional cause to harm another person. So maybe swimmers were just playing around on a pool deck, and one swimmer pushed another into the water, but the person that fell into the water accidentally bumped their head on the gutter and severely hurt themselves. That was not the intent of the person. Maybe it was negligence on the swim coaches, but there was an intentional harm for the other person. So the 5 court cases, the first one I wanted to go over is Barrett versus the School District of 259. I feel like this has happened a lot around the country, but football players were conditioning for football practice. They often were taking water breaks and checked in by the coaches, but in this case, one of the players, after getting a drink, ended up collapsing and ended up going unconscious and then later passing away from heat exhaustion. So the family was suing the school for negligence. I'm going to keep saying that wrong, but there you go. So my reactive way of handling this would be the district could potentially shorten practices and form stricter guidelines to practices with extreme temperatures. Also, clearly another reaction would be to give the kid who passed out medical attention right away and go through the protocols of heat exhaustion, like putting a kid into shoulders deep into a cool bath, ice bath, or something like that. Proactive, I know in the district that I teach in, we are mandated to take not only a concussion protocol test, but take a mandated heat exhaustion one. I coach swimming, so this really doesn't apply to us, but I know that all the head coaches and assistant coaches need to take this training, and this could maybe prevent a situation like this. And then I also would probably implement maybe mandate more breaks in practices. Second tort case is Flanagan versus Canton. Hits home because I'm a PE teacher. A couple of these I picked are PE related, but a student named Flanagan was knocked unconscious in a gym. Ended up having a splenectomy or a splenectomy. I'm dyslexic, guys, so you're going to have to give me a little bit of a break. But the PE teacher was not aware of the situation. It kind of sounds like the 2 boys went into the locker room with a little bit of anger towards each other because of what happened in class. The teacher was staying outside of the locker room. Fight ensued, and things went down, and a student got really hurt. So I think that a reactive measure would be that the student should be sent to the nurse's office immediately and gather as much information from all the kids that were maybe in the locker room at this time and gather as much as we could figure out to maybe prevent this altercation from ever happening again. I don't know. I teach elementary, so we don't have a locker room, but I feel like this is a fine line to walk. I know that I'm sure the middle school, high school teachers need to be in the locker room to help supervise. And then I feel like then you're crossing lines of watching our kids change and all that jazz. So, but it sounds like this PE teacher probably should have felt this coming on and really didn't. So, kind of on him for not seeing the situation, maybe de-escalating the boys before sending them in one at a time to prevent that altercation. The third tort case, not gonna lie, I kind of struggled with this one. This is what Munn versus the Hotchkiss School. So a little bit of background on this is the students took a high school trip to China. They ended up taking a nature walk or whatever. And one of the students got bit by a tick, which ended up leading to um, some sort of disease. And parents weren't happy and sued and won $41 million for this tick bite, which is pretty crazy. Um, but good for them for, I guess, winning that court case. I think a reactive measure would be that I would get the kid immediate attention upon knowing that had a tick, try to get the tick out, um, to pull it out appropriately and get it treated. Keep the tick, show the tick to the doctors so we can understand exactly what we're dealing with. Um, Proactive is to mandate bug spray for all the students and educate on the students on the dangers of ticks in that specific area, and then obviously just like the country song says, check for some ticks. But again, I'm struggling with this one just a touch. I think $41 million is a little bit rich for a tick bite, even though the kid had a lot of issues afterwards. But if I sent my kids into the woods, I would assume that the potential danger of ticks could happen. So, anyways, the next one is Protec. Again, dyslexic, sorry, versus Millard School. Back into a PE class. I'm a PE teacher, so this is fun. Looks like I should have my lawyers all in line, my attorneys in line, just in case this happens. But background on this is the PE class was on a golf unit, and due to inclement weather, the teacher ended up having class indoors. One of the students seemed like he was trying to help out the other student with drip and form and all that jazz. And the kid got a couple swings in, and maybe one of the kids that was helping ended up getting in the way of the swing and hitting the kid in the head, knocking the kid unconscious, and ended up later passing away. Crazy that this happened, because this actually happened between my 5-year-old son and my 3-year-old daughter. She didn't pass away, but my son jacked her in the face. Same situation. She just got a cut here. She didn't pass away. But anyways, I'm a PE teacher, and I think that maybe this was disorganized to a certain extent. I think that I appreciate the kid helping out, but the PE teacher needs to recognize that they're helping out with a full swing, not putting or chipping, and there's a lot of dangers in that. When I teach golf, I definitely have safety zones where they can't get too close to the kids helping with their swings and so forth. Reactive measure, obviously, is get the kid medical attention as fast as possible, address any sort of safety issues with the students currently in class or classes coming after that, so this doesn't happen again. Proactive is I use Snag golf equipment, and it's for all ages, actually, K through 12. And these golf clubs have plastic heads to it. They're oversized. They're not real golf clubs. So that would maybe help prevent from hitting with a real golf club into someone's head. I would also probably contact a local professional. I know some PE teachers, golf professional that is. I know some PE teachers in my area. They have golf pros from country clubs come in and teach snag golf to them. That would allow for the PE teacher to really monitor safety during that situation. So it's a brutal situation. And the last court case, even though it says 4 up here, number 5 is Buzzard versus Eastlake. Students were out at recess playing a game of kick the can, old school game, pretty great game. 2 boys were given permission by a teacher to ride their bikes around the playground area, and one of the boys, bike riders, ended up running over a student and breaking that girl's leg. So the parents sued the district for the case. Reactive, get the kid medical attention as soon as possible with a broken leg, gather as much information, and then ban the use of bikes immediately, right on the spot. Take the equipment away. And then I think proactive is to really evaluate what equipment on a playground should be there. Bikes probably shouldn't be on a playground unless you have the grounds for that, or your students have been instructed on bike safety and so forth, or a designated bike riding area. But this sounds like these kids were just riding a bike all over the place and accidentally ran into the kid and broke the leg. So Anyways, tort cases, I guess, happen all over time in schools, and it's really important that us teachers prevent situations like this from happening, um, create proactive solutions, and make sure that we have reactive results to any dangerous situations. So, hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Good night.